Hey there, welcome to C&T Collectibles. I am C. Hope you're doing very, very well. And this is your weekly sports card chart blast where we look at the price action of our favorite collectibles. It doesn't matter what you think. It kind of matters what I think, but it really matters what the price action thinks. Price is truth after all. And we started off, as always, with Mike Trout because it's still technically baseball season, all right? I just gave you like 20-something charts on football, so indulge me until the season's officially over, even though his is. Again, we know why, because no modern player is going to be worth more than Mike Trout in their base card, at least, or no one's going to pay that for the time being. We'll see what happens. But so sorry, as he goes, so goes the rest of the market. He's still into consolidation. We've been able to successfully hold the bottom trend line, but we are unable to break out of that top trend line. We're really running out of space here. We'll see what the market wants to do. The MACD is fairly flat as well, not giving us much of an indication other than momentum is, again, with those bands as narrow as they are, not looking for like a volatile move anytime soon. So as it breaks out, there's enough buying in here that it should be kind of slow and steady, and we'll be able to kind of pick off which direction it is, and we'll have time to buy or sell or do whatever. And honestly, I bought and I'm probably not going to sell. So look at the BGS 9.5. If you're looking for volatility and you want to smack this thing around, then you're going to get that with the BGS 9.5. You can see the mood swings are a lot more prominent on this one here. So bouncing off the top of the bottom of the range here, and coming into an area where there is a bit more buying here. And I don't know if you get another shot down here. Maybe you do, but again, the trend is down. But this is a fairly bullish reversal formation here. This downward wedge pennant, whatever. And at some point it breaks out, but while it's in there, the trend does remain down overall. Vlad Guerrero, the no number. So still in an uptrend here on a sell signal. From a high point of 385 down to what it is 240. So it is a wide range, and we could see some more volatility here. So we had our tag at the bottom here. When it came up, we were looking and said, all right, this is maybe your last chance to sell, but it really isn't, because it's just kind of grinding sideways. So it's respecting the bottom end of this range. I've widened it just a little bit because I would like to hold on to Vlad personally. MACD's turning up just a little bit here, but still on a sell signal. We've had that in place since about, what does that look like? About 330 or something, 300, something, 280, something like that, whatever it is. I don't know. Tough to see exactly where that is. So, but anyways, the trend does slightly remain up. I think if we looked at relative performance, there are probably other cards to buy at this point here. But for me, I'm a long-term Vlad bull. And if it does break down and go down, then I'm probably just, honestly, I'm just going to buy more. All right, let's look at the Chrome version of this one here. And we had a nice tag at the bottom and said, up here, maybe there's other things to do other than Vlad. Down here said, maybe Vlad's the thing to do. So big rip to the top of the range, but really getting smacked down at resistance. And now you're in the middle of the range here. So again, not much to do with Vlad, and there's maybe other places to look. I think what I'm seeing a lot is people are kind of happy to buy lesser grade stuff here. So as far as the PSA 10s, it's a pricey proposition, but I'm seeing some of the 9s outperform. Anecdotally, I haven't run the numbers on that very much here. So Tatis, bottom of the range, top of the range, still again in that downward wedge formation. So I would expect it to break out at some point. When, I don't know. And while it's in this, the trend is down. But it's interesting to see this wedge form on a lot of like the higher end players. You look at the Chai, look at the Tatis, Mookie Betts, things of that nature. They are kind of in the same formation, while there's a lot of other names that are maybe a tier below, and they're just kind of grinding their way sideways. So the market doesn't quite know what to do, and it's just in a holding pattern for now. And it's frustrating. I get that. Tatis pink, and so we're looking at the bottom of the range here for a rip up, and we got that. So it really just brought us to the top of the range, and now you're at the bottom again. He's sitting at that $500 level that's been defended a few times back in here, again here, and again the trend remains down on this one. So very thin volume overall, but I think we'll see what happens. Probably some buying steps up here and get a little bit of a pop, but who knows? And this is the PSA 9 that's showing a little bit of relative outperformance. This bottom area here is $200, $202.50. Don't ask me how I know, but nice rip to the middle of the range here. So the 9s, I guess people are willing to spend some money, but they're not willing to spend $500. But they'll throw down a couple $100 on something like this to have a nice mint version. So maybe it's more of what they say, the 10s are for investors, 9s are for collectors. And so maybe that's what we're seeing is the collectors coming back in, and they're not just going to chase. They're going to look for deals, wait for deals, and they're just going to grind things sideways. And it could be a real boring slog, as it has been already. So Shohei Ohtani 2018 tops. This is the Chrome series. well, maybe it's just the base. The Series 2, I think. And so we had to rip up to the top here, and you leave these alone. There's not a lot of volume on those. Let it come down to an area where there's been more buying, area of support, and we've gotten that. And so the trend does remain down, and I think it really wants to go back down to that $200 level here in the near future. You get some postseason awards. And maybe that gets a bump. And you might see 200 first. So who knows? That's just what I'm thinking here. It just seems logical with the way that it's trending down here. So we'll see what happens. And over the offseason, this downward compression. Who knows? I mean, maybe get another really nice shot at Ohtani if you're patient. But if you want to trade it from here, you're coming up onto a spot where you may want to take a shot. The update batting version here, breaking out of its consolidation, broke its long-term trend a little while ago. So now you're in this consolidation, and it's breaking that down as well. So as thin as this is, a buyer could come in and push it up to the top here again with the. This is a sweet-looking card. MVP, that could lift it again here, but if you're patient, maybe something in here makes a bit more sense. If it stays up here, then it stays up there, and maybe you never see it again. But breaking out of this consolidation, you lean towards lower prices. Doesn't have to happen, but it could happen. Juan Soto, still in this consolidation at a spike up here. Forget about it. Really just brings it up to this area of resistance, and wait for something back down here. We're getting it, and prices are compressing further south, and so people don't think he's special. Having a terrific season. He's walking more than he strikes out. Really pretty amazing what he's doing at his age here. So we'll see how that plays over long term. But in the near term, people, there's enough buying in that 125, 130 area here. But with these prices compressing lower, if it goes down, you've got a lot of this overhead supply that could continue to press it down lower. And there really isn't an area where a ton of buying stops in until you get to like 70 or 80 bucks. And if we're getting back to, where speculators are out of the market, we're just getting back to investors. That's where they really piled in last time as well. So we're not there yet. But we'll monitor this. So break out of this would be good. That would be a good sign here. We could get a rip to the top of the range, and we could take a sigh of relief. Otherwise, if it does break down out of this, then get those PayPal accounts geared. Ronald Acuna tops update. Trend remains down, respecting the bottom end of that range here. So getting a nice little bump off of that, but the trend does remain down on that card here. So he is in speculation mode at this point here, so we'll see what happens here. But I would like to see this start to curl up just a little bit, and it's pretty flat this time, and the longer term trend does remain down. Fake break here does argue for a move to the downside, so even if it comes down here, then that would be maybe a bullish thing. People could step in, and that would shoot it maybe right to the top quickly. That might happen towards spring trading next year. You see how his recovery and everything is going here. All right, I got to keep this going here. Acuna tops Chrome, holding up a little bit better here, so hitting this line of support and bouncing off a few times here, but respecting this downtrend line, coming off that a little bit here. So a lot of buying in this area, and we just keep grinding until we run out of room, and then we'll make up his mind on which way we go. Luis Robert, the pink, top of the range, bottom of the range here. So he's looking awesome. So I think over the course of a full season, he might be one of those guys that people chase, but right now they're not a ton of interest in, like the Luis Roberts, the Bichettes, some of those younger players that are having really, really nice seasons or partial seasons, but Eloy. But it is what it is. So here we are, bottom of the range, and it's in very thin volume. Don't know if you're gonna get another crack at that one here. Don't know if you see this again, but this is a card that should have some interest. Those refractors, as the card's heading up, those refractors tend to do well. As they go down, they tend to they're just a little bit more volatile. It's called adding some beta to your portfolio here. So, and if we look at the three main LouBobs, the Chrome, the pink refractor, the regular Chrome, and the base card, you see the pink has outperformed over the last 6 months here. The other ones are down pretty decently, and they're just grinding around on the bottom here, but the pink has held up a little bit better. So you can get a little bit of outperformance, I think, from those refractors, as there's fewer of them, and people tend to go to those if they like a player, and they'll pay up a little bit more for them, and they're a little bit more in demand. It's easier to have the demand overwhelm the supply on limited run here. So the base Chrome for Bichette remains on a downward trend here. And so it's in the middle of the range. This area of buying looked really good, but it's gotten cheaper. Now the interesting thing about this is $58 will get you a PSA 10 Chrome. $51 to $52 will get you the regular base. So those prices are compressing, and so we'll see if the base can't start picking it up here a little bit. Again, people aren't going to pay attention to someone who's, what is he hitting, 285? 25 home runs or something. He's having a really, really nice season. You look at his age, 23 years old, but he's not one of those top handful of big dogs that everyone's going to chase at the time. So in the offseason, I think people will say, whoa, what a great value. But for the time being, the trend remains down. And Yordan Alvarez also having a fairly nice season here. So the trend remains down on this one as well. So baseball cards, asset class. Cards in general, asset class, or sector within a collectibles asset class, however you want to do that one. But yeah, they're going to travel kind of, for the most part, they're going to travel in the same direction here. And you're going to have a couple that buck the trend as people just go to there. But maybe there's a lot of money coming out of baseball cards going to football, so we'll see how that goes here. So Yordan's had these spikes in the past, which have quickly recovered, and so consider this kind of your bottom area here, and it looks interesting enough. Playoff team could make some name in the playoff and make a run towards the top end of that range. We'll see what happens here. And ARod in the PSA 8. Big spike up, leave it, and then the trend is down. And you're getting a couple of tags in this area here. So in percentage terms, could see some decent percentage moves. It's sitting at $40, so you could have a 20% move, which would bring it down to like, $32 or $33 in dollar terms. Not a whole lot. If you've been looking for this card for a while, this seems like a decent spot. Percentage terms could be a little bit of a whipsaw. In dollar terms, you're probably not hurting yourself too much here. And we'll finish up with his brother from another mother, Julio Rodriguez. Trend remains up. Off of his high is pretty decent, like everything else, but he's in this area where there's been a lot of buying. He's really close to that. So there's upward compressions, and spring training starts lighting it up. You could see a bit of a breakout, and then we know to sell that one here. But right now, looks like he's holding in relatively okay. Some football. Tom Brady in the PSA 10 Bowman Chrome with the breakout to $20,000, which is our 50% retracement from top to bottom here. So look for something around 17,000. Let it come back to this area, tag this upper trend line, and we got it. And you're looking at the relative performance graph. Just saying, look for Brady to underperform Mike Trout in the near term, and it's precisely what happened. Bring it in an area where there's some buying. So if this is your spike bottom, and this is your kind of your floor right here, and see if some buyers can step in on that one. Patrick Mahomes, this is the Donruss Optus, not Donruss Optic, Donruss Optus, Optimus Prime. Yeah, I wish I had that voice. That'd be pretty sweet. Trending lower, top of the trend line, coming back into an area of some buying here. So, but again, the trend does slightly remain down, well, not slightly in dollar terms, but as of late, it's just been grinding sideways here. And the relative performance would say, right now this is the Prism underperforming the Optic, but it's at a spot where the Prism might get a lift against the Optic here. So this is the relative performance graph, and just between you and me, come closer here. I did a relative performance video a couple of weeks ago, and I got a downvote. It's my first one ever, so maybe I'm making the big time here. Who knows? But one of two things. Either I'm getting trolled, or someone legitimately had a problem with that video, and I'd sure like to hear why, because I'm always looking to make things better. But come on, guys. Yeah, I'm out here. That's not easy information to put together, that's for sure. I'm just trying to show you a few new things, and someone gives me the thumbs down for that. Give me a break here, fellas. So, all right, like, subscribe, show me you want this kind of stuff. Give me downvotes. I got a lot more tricks up my sleeve. I'll just keep them to myself. You want to go that route here. So, Russell Wilson, Topps Chrome, 2012. Sideways action here, top of the range, into an area where there's been buying, but it's in the middle of the range here, so not much to do here. So, you'll have to have some pretty decent performance to burst out of this range here, but until he does, then you are kind of range bound here. That was your upper end of it. Here's your bottom end of it. So, maybe we'll tag along the upper end. That would be pretty nice action here. So I think there's a little bit more interest in him going forward, but we'll see how that shakes up. But again, it's mostly sideways. A couple of receivers here. Julio Jones. This is the refractor in a raw bottom range, coming up just a little bit here. He's due for a big week at some point here, and you could see a nice rip like that draw one. And it's a lower price card. People are going to be a little more okay with buying something like that and seeing what happens. Devontae Adams breaking out of his range here. So like the bottom of the range, it did get a little bit of a pop, but it snuck down to the bottom part here. So, but there's 3 sales in this one. We haven't seen that for a little while here. So there's some accumulation, and I think just kind of lining up at a round number, and with this bottom area here and kind of that top. So maybe if we drew a straight line, that would be a pretty decent spot here. So as soon as he has a good week, then I think you could see some chasing. Cooper Kupp. He could have a pretty good season here, bottom of the range, coming off just a bit here, but could keep it going here. That could be an interesting play for this year. Stafford found his guy, so we'll see how that plays out here. Alvin Kamara, top of the range, coming back off into a middle range, and there's been a lot of buying it here, and similarly here. So I don't know if you get these spiked down. It'll probably be a quick move here, but this seems like a fair enough price. But the trend does remain down. Aaron Jones, little Aaron. Breaking out of his consolidation and coming into an area of support. So if you think he's going to have a good season, this is probably a decent enough spot to do that. And big ARod, top of the range, and now just grinding off. He didn't sell off wickedly hard or anything like that after his crappy performance last week, because he's got a body of work to kind of rely on, and it's pretty darn good. So we'll see what happens on that one. So it's sitting at about $850 or something like that. But this seems like an area Again, trend is slightly down where there has been some buying in the past. So we'll see if that reappears. And this is the 9 sitting at just $220. So that 3-to-1 ratio is like a 4-to-1 ratio almost. So the 9 seems really, really cheap, coming down into an area of decent support here and getting a little bit of a lift. So this one sold off a little bit after the game most likely, but it's getting a bit of a bounce. People are finding that to be a good deal, and I don't disagree. Michael Jordan, sideways action, bottom of the range, coming up just a little bit here. So it's holding on. That's a good thing. So, but not a lot else going on here. LeBron James breaking out of his consolidation, but coming right back in. So that momentum is coming up, but it's flattening out again. So it's really, those bands are really tight together. So it doesn't take much to, to tilt them one way or another here. So, here, let me do this too. So fancy. But it's at the in an area where there has been some buying in the past, so it's giving you some chances to pick off that bottom if indeed that is the bottom. These consolidations do usually resolve themselves in the direction of the previous trend, which is down. So be aware of that one as well, because there could be a little bit more downside action, but we're not there yet. Donovan Mitchell, bottom of the range here, looks interesting enough. Sideways consolidation, sitting at the bottom of that one. Luka, boring, bottom of the range. But if you look at the optic, the Donruss Optus, bottom of the range, coming up just a little bit here. So that may be a better relative value. Forgot where I was at, so we'll just move on here. Screaming Kid, that's what happens. So get ready for that one, Dakota. All right, Bradley Beal in the PSA 10, top of the range, coming off in the middle of the range, but there's been a lot of buying in this one. If you leak below, it's usually a pretty quick move here, so not sure you get another crack in. If you do, you better be really, really quick, but this is an area where there has been enough buying in the past here, so we'll see if that is able to hold up. But again, compressing to the downside here, and Giannis, still contending with this area here, so bouncing off the upper trend line and in an area, again, lots of buying here. These spikes down have been scooped up fairly quickly, so you may get another crack here, but be quick, and we'll see how that plays out. But again, the general trend, at least in the near term, is up. Couple hockey here. Connor McDavid, top of the range, coming off just a little bit here. Starting to curl up just a little bit. Couple of sales here, but your risk reward is not favorable. Adam Fox, coming down to the middle range. Couple of sales. Anytime it hits the bottom of the range, it's a quick move here. So we're seeing the same thing here. It's spiked. So I would say maybe this is your normal area buying, kind of in the middle, and that's what we're seeing again. It's starting to come up here, but again, your risk reward is not favorable. Hockey looks like it may be slightly outperforming here, but you're getting a little to the top of those near-term ranges. And Ovechkin, middle of the range, with a couple of purchases, could see a move up to the top, but again, that would be for selling these quick spikes to the top. If you're able to sell, set a price or something like that right in that $5,000 area or something like that, then you could cash out and ring the register real quick. All right, Kylian Mbappe, top of the range, looks like it might come off just a little bit here, so there could be some more potential downside in that particular card. And we'll wrap it up with Charizard. So another consolidation. So you can see a lot of similarities. And that's where cards are kind of an asset class, so a lot of similarities, but an area where there's been a lot of buying. But again, are the investors moving out and are the collectors coming back in? And we're not going to chase. We're going to wait for deals. We're not going to try and flip. We're just going to buy them. We're going to hold and all that kind of good stuff. So, anyways, interesting. We'll see how it plays out. And I appreciate you guys watching. Have a great rest of the day and weekend, and we will talk to you later. Bye now.